Victoria 3 is a good game, but not a great game. I think it's getting there, but yet it's not really a fantastic game, even if there are 2 years of post-game content. The core problem is that the game designer haven't quite figured out what the gameplay loop should be. Compared to Vicky 2, it does some things a bit better and a lot of the things slightly worse. Overall, I probably recommend this to someone if they are willing to wait out a year or two, when the game will be in much better state. That said, a chance to pick it up on sale is probably worthwhile if you are a big Paradox fan or especially fan of the Victorian era. I'm going to talk more about what I don't like than what I do like. But I still have high hopes given the basic mechanics and the Paradox track record of improving their product post-launch. There's a lot of things to like about Victoria 3 actually. The economic simulation is very interesting and works astonishingly well for how ambitious it is. Despite some of the problems they face, we'll talk about it later. For now, the vibes of the game is excellent. Victoria 3 looks, feels and sounds better than anything else Paradox has released in my opinion. In terms of graphics, the act of expanding a factory or navigating a political events feels good with satisfying sound effects and beautiful arts. Internal politics is the highlight for me. The way that interest groups acquire clout is interesting and adds a layer of decision making that is badly needed in other parts of the game. Expanding your coffee industry might be profitable, but do you really want to empower the landowners? Unfortunately, this can feel the same every game. Religious and military units are way too easy to sideline, and in practice the game always comes down to battle against the landowners. But ultimately, I think it does a good job at making decisions interesting. Compared to Victoria 2, elections are massively improved, both easier to understand and interesting to navigate. The key problem I have with Victoria 3 is that I don't think the game developers understand the central game loop supposed to be. I don't think they realize what type of game loops this game is gonna be. When the game is launched, the main gameplay loop was supposed to be building things. The player can take control over what to build and where, and could direct the savings of their capitalist or the taxes of the population they saw fit. This has some problem of course, but it was crystal clear that Victoria 3 was being set up as a management sim. A game like Factorio, about building the best, most efficient machine that you could find. Similar to how Hearts of Iron 4 simplifies the economic gameplay to only include the dynamics that makes the war game interesting. Victoria 3 aimed to sideline the military gameplay to make the economic gameplay interesting. Unfortunately, nobody really asked about this. Warfare was such a big part of Victorian era. And more crucially, the game is set in a Victorian era covering World War I and the golden age of imperialism. Kinda needs a solid warfare system. The warfare could be improved in later patches, but still it sucks. I am closely following the dev diaries. They are revamping the warfare system and the combat. So I hope that it gradually improves from now on. So this is a pure economic sim. Turned out basically a bad idea, and the developer have gradually been pivoting the game to cover other systems better. But the success have been mixed. A lot of the system barely work. Diplomacy is easily the worst part about the game. The current diplomacy system, in my opinion, is worse than Wiki 2 in every meaningful sense. Immigration doesn't work. Immigration only moves within the market, which is absurd, leading to a lot of countries like Italy, Germany and Ireland being overpopulated, while the Americas is absurdly underpopulated. Discrimination is silly. Pops are either discriminated or they are not, which are already ludicrous binary. Irish, African, Scottish people would all be subject to some level of discrimination, but to widely different extent. The fact that the assimilation can only happen to accepted pop-ins is quite frankly bizarre. In practice, the economy simulation is deep but not interesting. A good economy always looks the same, with a very large steel industry making tools and railways. I can actually live with this, as it is historical, but it is exacerbated by other issues. Okay, so there are three big issues in Victoria 3 in my opinion. Number 1, AI. Number 2, UI, and the patch cycle. First things first, the AI is absolutely terrible in this game. There is a problem in a lot of paradox games such as Hearts of Iron 4. But in Victoria 3 it is particularly an issue because it breaks the trading system down. The AI doesn't know how to build an economy, and this makes an economic sim gameplay a struggle. In theory, you can play Brazil as a cash crop economy, exporting coffee to the rest of the world and importing industrial machinery. But in practice, you can't rely on the AI to make things you want to import at a price that you will be able to import to them. This means that every economy in practice needs to make domestically, which emphasizes warfare and diplomacy, the two worst part about this game, over the trade and economy optimization, the two best part about this game. The UI is bad. It is actually amazing how much it is worse than any other Paradox UI out there. And it amazes me that it is still bad. Victoria 3 UI is too clunky and unconductive to gameplay experience. Below is my main gripping points. Information is buried and inaccessible. Overall, the overall aggregated info like number of radicals or turmoil is visible. This is just highlights the current problem. Almost all the detailed info that is crucial to access the cause and demise. The solution is buried in layer of nested tooltips. While you can drill down to eventually get the info you want, most of the time the process is very unintuitive and complicated. The tooltip, to drill down you have to hover over highlighted terms and wait for a set of amount for the current tooltip to become fixed before you can hover over to something inside it, which is yet another tooltip. It is very time consuming and delicate action that is prone to failure, and it is also very unclear which term I need to hover over to get the information I want. This makes finding information into a stressful guesswork. Information and action are not only buried but sometimes hidden depending on the current situation. For example, if your market does not produce or consume sulfur, good luck trying to find out the foreign state that has the potential to conquer or vassalize, or even access the general sulfur info page. Because sulfur is nowhere to be found from your country or the market UI, nor it is displayed in any global map overlays or list. Yes, you can find markets to import from in the trade menu at the bottom, but that's another thing entirely. Or maybe you want to start up your construction center. Sorry, you don't have any yet. So the button to expand is not even displayed in the building window. You have to go to a specific state menu to do this. Inconsistent and complicated. Information is displayed in a very inefficient manner. The valuable screen real estate is most of the time occupied by fluffed up illustrations like the building images or character model, which provides little value past the initial amusement. The reliance on expanding the drop-downs also contribute to making it difficult to quickly have an overlook at things. For example, the pop window, you have to scroll down to dozens of occupations. Finding a specific pop for detailed pop list of each occupation is like a schizophrenic guesswork or tedious, mindless works. And what if I want to look at all my Protestant pop? I can't, because this kind of UI is not facilitating towards the data access. It is locked to an arbitrary dimension that is of occupation. Now, what do I want it to done to improve the situation? Mainly two things. Use more tables and cut down illustrations. Charm of the Grandstrategy game is the strategizing. Strategizing requires data analysis. Data analysis requires data access, and table is the king of data access. Instead of current population window, give me all the pop table like SQL or an Excel table. Let me sort out and filter and group and aggregate by attributes like culture, religion, workplace, occupation. Similarly, combine the current details and trade routines of market window and give me all good table with all the info and the demand, price and supplies. This will hugely alleviate much of the tediousness of accessing and analyzing info. Get rid of the tooltip drill down or get rid of the hover and wait mechanism. Have the information in the tooltip displayed in a fixed window. Have drill down carried out by clicking on terms instead of hovering. If you have a drill down displayed in place of the previous window with back button or breadcrumb for navigation, this will make things a lot quicker for anyone who has mastered the basics. Vic3 is a data analysis and decision making software with pretty graphics and various flavors. Let's make the UI fit for that. In terms of patches, I want to give Paradox their fair due. They are clearly trying. The Victoria 3 team ran an excellent beta for their current builds of the game over the autumn, but it was kinda useless in all honesty. The beta was so buggy and underwent so many changes that I doubt it resulted in a much useful feedback from player. I think it would be more accurately described as pre-alpha for a lot of the systems that were covered. Then the new patch is released. Even though this build feels like a beta, the system are in the game and they have icon now, but they are not clearly balanced. It is hard to get a lot of information on military, which is why the military UI needs a complete redesign. This would be acceptable in beta. Allies can randomly show up and fuck up your whole front line. This should also be acceptable in beta. Armies can fight without penalty if they don't have the access to military goods. This is honestly be pushing it even in beta. You get the point. This patch feels like a late beta test of new features. Things are mostly functional, but they haven't thought of it in gameplay terms. Navies are almost useless because they can't even blockade military goods, and naval invasion are bit buggy. Allies are also bit buggy. Supplies too. This may above be resolved in the upcoming patches, but this is a big part of the issue Vic 3 has. And new patches come out with cool new DLC, hoping it would bring a new player, hoping to bring in new players, and this game feels like a beta, so player who return to try out Brazil will find a player focused on cash crops, navy and immigration, while all the systems are a bit broken. This is what makes me worry for maintaining a player base in the future. Thank you for watching, and that's it for today's video.